Welcome back, everyone, to the A.D.D. show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans, and welcome back, everybody, to the show. It's been a few weeks since we've heard from you guys. Well, you guys have heard from us, Mother's Day, and then we just busy last week. So we have draft talk, hockey talk today. The hockey playoffs are right here, man. They're literally, moments away anytime now.
Yeah, tonight's the last night of the regular season, and then tomorrow... Let me think. Tomorrow starts the playoffs. So tonight is the last regular season game, and it doesn't mean anything.
No.
These two games that are on tonight doesn't mean anything. The seeds are what they are. And so for me and for you, I'm a Bruins fan. You're a Capitals fan. And so... First round of the playoffs, they play tonight. Tonight does not matter for the seeding. So Washington has home ice. They're the number 2 seed. Bruins are the number 3 seed. If the Bruins do win tonight, they both finish at 75 points. Pittsburgh's the number 1 seed in that, and they're playing the Islanders. But Boston and Washington is going to be a hell of a series.
Dude. I mean, like I said, I haven't paid the most attention so far this season, but from what I have seen is the teams that are at the top of hockey, like we talked about a few weeks ago, are literally the cream of the crop. Like, they're really good teams.
Yes.
And these teams are going to play each other hard because this is why Logan, Nate, and the guys will all say the NHL playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs, whatever they're properly termed now, is like one of the best playoff formats there is. I mean, the playoffs themselves. They're the best games, are the best teams. You don't have to be a hockey fan at all. This is one of the only sports that when my team's eliminated, I continue watching to the end. Like the NCAA basketball tournament. But in general...
I'll pay attention and everything, but... I mean, to be honest with you, Bruins Caps, it's unfortunate that they're playing first round. Like
It is.
It's one of those things where I'm just looking at it, and you've got Florida Tampa Bay playing. You've got... not really Colorado, Minnesota. So it's going to be fun. The first round's going to be fun. We were talking in the group chat that we have earlier, Nate and Logan, and I think obviously you think the Caps are going to win. Nate and Logan think 6. I think Bruins have it. I think the Bruins, they won the season series. It's a good matchup for the Bruins, and... Yes, they're going to be – your injured players are going to be back for the playoffs, but how healthy are they and how in shape are they?
Yeah, I would say if they're healthy, the thing is most of the season, I don't think the Capitals have had their full lineup for a lot of the games they played against the Bruins. I think there's like one game I read they had all their players healthy. So this is the thing. When they come back, what are they? It's kind of like the NFL reference. What will certain – like Dak Prescott be this coming up season? We don't know.
Right.
So the Capitals at full strength, we know what they are, but what – percentage of full strength are they going to be? Will it take them a game or two? Because if the Bruins win the first 2 games, I'm concerned. I mean, the first game of the Bruins win, this could be a long series.
Either one of these teams can make the Stanley Cup Finals.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt.
And it's a shame they're playing this early, but it's going to be fun to watch. And I'm sure the trash talking will be
it'll be
pretty good. But that's hockey. Hockey playoffs are starting tomorrow. And
I'm sure next week we'll have a lot more to add to that for you guys.
And just some things that have happened since we last talked. John Means for the Orioles threw a no-hitter.
West Virginia represent.
That is something I've seen in Orioles history, but it was a multiple pitcher no-hitter. I was alive for the last single pitcher no-hitter, but I was 4, so it was 1978, 79. And that was Jim Palmer. But John Means is pitching a hell, and the Orioles, they're in last place, granted, but they're exciting.
Well, this is the way I look at it, okay? So the Orioles being in last place, we've mentioned this a couple times. I even mentioned this last year. I don't know if I mentioned it when we first started the podcast, but it might have been the very first episode we mentioned we were Orioles fans, is the fact that the Orioles have one of the deepest minor league systems in the league. They have the number 1 prospect, the number 3 prospect, 5 and 10, and the 10 is a pitcher and the 3 is a pitcher. Then you have John Means. You have a couple good rotational players in the majors. The Bowie Bay Sox almost went practically undefeated last year. The Shorebirds are good too. I would just put it this way, that the Orioles may be in last place, but I can tell you other teams that are also close last place that don't look good. The Yankees don't look good. Boston doesn't look good at all. These teams don't look as good as you would think, and my point to this is I think this I thought was technically going to be the year, but I think another year or two the Orioles are going to be coming strong.
Yeah.
And they're going to have Rutschman ready. They're going to have these pitchers ready. They're going to be...
They'd be a lot more competitive if they weren't in the East.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. So it's...
the East is always competitive.
Yes. But now the exciting thing that we talked about with Nate and Logan, we had them on the show the last time we aired, and we did the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft.
Yep.
And we all joked after the first round that, man, we know nothing about football or what these teams are thinking.
Nope.
I think we had the top 5.
Yes, we were pretty locked on the top 5.
We had the top 5, but then I don't think we had another, well, besides Pittsburgh getting Najee Harris, I don't think we had another one right, to be honest with you. We had the top 5,
either.
but I don't think we had anything else after that. But it was a very good draft.
It was fantastic.
A lot of teams upgraded. So today for you guys, we're going to do our top 5 winners and our top 5 losers.
Yep.
And
now, what I will say for you, I don't know how you did yours.
Mm-hmm.
What I did mine is maybe Mark did his differently than mine, so just keep that in mind. When I did my top 5 winners and losers, it wasn't based off of, again, the talent they have. I did it based on the picks they brought in. Were these picks worth it, and did they make their team better? Not saying someone like, Miami who had 40 picks. I don't have Miami listed just because they had a lot of picks doesn't mean they had a good draft. Does that make sense?
Correct.
So even for me, people like, what are you talking about, man? Seahawks had a great draft. Bro, they picked 3 players. That's not a good draft, right?
No, that's not a good draft at all. And I don't even like the players they picked.
Exactly. So my thing is, did you have a 20th pick, right? You picked 20th. Did you get the 10th best player? Did you have a top 20 talent in the 3rd round? Did you get those steals? That's what I did my list off of, getting great players at really bad times in the draft.
Yeah.
Did you reach for anybody? If so, you're in my lower ranking. So I want everybody to know that's kind of how I did mine. I don't know how you did yours.
Yeah. No, I did mine based off of what I thought they needed versus what they drafted, and if they upgraded at these positions.
Perfect.
So that's what I did. I didn't do it in order.
Okay.
So plain and simple, but I think one of the top 5 easy is the Falcons.
Yep.
Offensively, they upgraded at guard and center. Uh-huh. Both are going to start. And they got the first to second most talented player in the draft in Pitts. Uh-huh. They also got secondary help, which they desperately needed. So they went offense, and then a bunch of, offense, because they went with a center and a guard. Uh-huh. And then they drafted all secondary and all defensive line.
The secondary was definitely a question mark last year. Mm-hmm. Their defense in general was a question mark last year.
Yeah, and I think with Ridley, they signed Mike Davis. So if Mike Davis can be a bell cow, if he can take on what he was last year for Carolina, if he can translate that into success in Atlanta, I think Atlanta is going to be dangerous. And I think Nate is correct in his assumption that he said the last time we aired, where he said, I think the Falcons are going for it.
Because if they weren't, they would have traded Julio and Ryan already.
They would have traded the 4th pick and gotten more picks, but they're going for it. And they have a window of a year or two. And if you think about the NFC, there's one team that scares you. And every other team has question marks, especially now that Aaron Rodgers decided to be a Karen and is throwing a fit about being in Green Bay.
I do want to say this before we get to our next team, and the guys may be like, oh, here he goes. You may even do that. The fact that Aaron Rodgers is having trouble in paradise, and he has trouble with this GM, he had trouble with the last GM, had trouble with the coaches, I'm starting to think it wasn't Mike McCarthy's problem. I'm starting to think Aaron Rodgers is a baby.
Aaron Rodgers is a baby, but it's not.
I know.
He's not the main reason why. And I mean, does he have a gripe saying they haven't put enough talent around him?
First off, they do need to be drafting better for your star quarterback. I think he should, think about this, okay? Aaron Rodgers has been in the league how long? 10 years?
No, a lot longer than that.
So I'm sorry, starting for 10 years, right?
10, 11 years,
okay, put it this way. The rookie phenom from last year, Justin Herbert, was in the Los Angeles Chargers draft room. Aaron Rodgers wasn't in there for the Green Bay Packers. The point is even a team brought in their rookie quarterback from last year to help do the draft. They wanted his opinion on it. Does that make sense? Green Bay, if Aaron Rodgers, why isn't Aaron Rodgers present in your draft room? He's your dude. Tom Brady should be in that draft room helping because he knows what the team needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I disagree.
Okay.
I think he should have
Not a full say.
I think you should be able to talk to him to see, hey, what are you thinking? This is the way our offense is going. What do you think we need? And, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay. But this is the thing. If Green Bay had a top 5 defense, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is complaining right now that he doesn't have any weapons to throw to or that he doesn't want to be there. They're not drafting, even not drafting in the first round. Okay, like a wide receiver or anything like that. I'm okay with that. As long as you're picking guys that play on the defense that are making your defense a top 5 defense. Yeah. But instead, your defense is not a top 5 defense. No. It's not a top 10 defense. It's barely middle of the road.
So if you have barely middle of the road defense, then bring in the players to make the offense even better.
Exactly. And so that is where I think that's where his biggest thing is you're not putting players, and when I mean players, I mean offense and defense. Mm-hmm. You're not helping me win.
So, yeah, Green Bay, I will bring up later. We'll talk about them later because I have them in one of my 2 columns.
Okay.
But in general, I agree with you. I think Aaron Rodgers needs some support in general, but also at the same time, he doesn't really get a say. He's just another payroll. Yep. But at the same time, you have been loyal to him for so long, and for 3 straight years, he goes home and sits with his wife or whatever and goes, again? Really? I just want some wide receiver help. Yep. Like, look at the wide receivers they passed on in this draft. The 3 that were available right there, they didn't take.
Yeah, but I'm okay with it.
Oh, absolutely. No, I get it.
It's not like I'm
But it almost
mad
seems like
at
they're
him.
trying to jab at the man. It almost seems like they want him to get mad for what?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's more of a power play of this is our team.
Yeah.
Like, we are, like, yes, we get it, but this is what we're doing, and either you're on board or you're not. You want to know something? If you want to sit out, sit out.
Yeah, he can more than welcome to sit out.
I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
And Deshaun Watson can hang out.
They got a good wide receiver in the 3rd round.
Oh, absolutely.
Amari Rodgers isn't a bum.
No.
And you're looking at, they didn't draft any other wide receiver, but they drafted him as a replacement center. They got an offensive tackle. I think Eric Stokes was a reach at cornerback in the 1st round. So I don't think they had a bad draft, but I don't think they had a draft that's going to keep Aaron Rodgers quiet.
No, I don't either.
But now it's the ultimate B move.
Yeah.
Where he's starting to talk to players on the team that are saying they're free agents and saying, hey, if I'm not going to be here, do you want to be here? And now you have players like Devontae Adams talking, well, if Aaron Rodgers isn't here, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
And he's not going to talk contract extension. So it's like now your whole organization is in limbo. And it's based off of what you're going to do with Rodgers.
Absolutely.
But that being said, if you want to, I don't know if you want to bring
them
up.
Forth.
Yeah. So,
do you want me to bring up the Packers? What I had for the negatives, or do you just want to stay on the positives?
Oh, we can stay on the positives.
Okay, so I had 2 teams I had tied as what I thought was, in my opinion, the best drafts versus the talent they brought in versus what they needed. So I'm going to go with the one I think overall I have better, and I think the Panthers, to me, had one of the best drafts in the NFL.
Okay.
Now, it depends on if you see that they skipped on Justin Fields. That's up to you. I don't see it that way. I know some people said the Sam Darnold thing. They get it. I think Sam Darnold's their quarterback, and I think that's who they're rolling with. I like their draft because they got J.C. Horn. You can't be mad about probably one of the best corners in the draft. You can't be mad about that, if not the best corner, depending on who you ask. Last year, they went all defense, and then they added another solid defensive player this year. They brought in Terrence Marshall, the wide receiver. They brought in the tackle Christensen. I don't remember his first name. Tommy Tremble, another tight end. Could be a star down the road. They added Chubb to play right behind CMC where Mike Davis was playing. And the number one question, if Sam Darnold's the dude, it's his team. The team, you brought in another running back. CMC will be healthy. You have wide receivers. You brought in Terrence Marshall, also another pick that was passed on by Green Bay. And then you brought in Tommy Tremble, who I thought was one of the best tight ends in the draft after Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
And your defense was, top 10, 15 last year? Yeah. Somewhere around there? So bringing in one of the best corners in the draft, this was one of my favorite picks. I think Matt Rule has done 2 great drafts since he's been here. They're one of my favorite drafts so far.
Yes. And I have to, so they're one of my tops too. So okay. I'll just add to what you said. You added solid offensive help. You got Chuba Hubbard. I think that's a cool name just because it's like saying Hubba Bubba.
I think it's Chuba, but I like going Chuba too.
But I think getting Marshall Jr. in the 2nd round, he's a first-round talent. Yep. You got him in the 2nd round is just amazing. And everybody, and I don't think there was a single person not shocked that they took Horn number 1.
I wasn't
at the number 8. But nobody was talking about them taking him. Like, everybody had Surtain being the number 1 cornerback taken. And they took Horn, who I felt, and I even said it in the podcast, that he is the best corner in the draft.
I think one of the reasons teams were on Horn, like the Panthers were, over Surtain, I think a lot of teams were just not wanting to deal with all the... Not that Surtain was the best or not, but that there was so much talk to him to Dallas that a lot of teams said, okay, forget Surtain. We're just going to focus on Horn and Farley. I think people really expected Surtain to be in Dallas, so maybe Panthers didn't even reach out to him. They're like, whatever, we like Horn better anyways.
But also, he fits their defense better because he's the man corner shutdown, and Carolina plays a lot of, that man and everything. So I think they could arguably have had the best draft.
Yeah, I think there's one team I like better based off the team they had going into the draft.
Okay.
But what do you have next?
Well, Panthers.
Okay, so that was the Panthers.
Yeah,
okay.
so we're good. So
I want to go with the team I think... also, another team I think might have done the best was the Brownies.
Okay.
Dude, the Browns. The roster that they had versus what they drafted. And then, I wrote this down on my notes, said, depending on who you ask, the Browns might have one of the best rosters in the entire teams of all the 32 teams. Okay, so they added Greg Newsome to play in the secondary that already had A.J. Green, Kevin Johnson, Greedy Williams, and Delpit. Mm-hmm. And then you add J.O.K., who fell to you in the second round for some unknown heart issue that nobody knows about. You got Tony Fields, another linebacker who's fast off the edge. And you brought another wide receiver that's the fastest wide receiver in the NFL. I think he ran a 4.24 or something crazy.
Okay.
So you have this team that was already in the playoffs in a division that you could flip a four-sided die. I don't know who's going to win it. That's the thing. All these teams in this in AFC North are stacked.
Yeah.
And this only helps your defense.
Yep.
And Baker Mayfield, I was wrong on him last year. He's getting better every year. He's taken a smaller trajectory. I said that wrong. Than what
a slower trajectory.
Of what the Bills quarterback
Josh
Allen's doing. And I was like, last year I was hard on him, but let me tell you something. Baker Mayfield could have a really solid year with this team.
Yep.
And this is a dark horse team for me, and I think their draft was really good.
Yep. I agree. Again, it's they're on my list, so I'll just keep going. Steal of the draft is, I think, J.O.K.
Absolutely.
Where they got him.
And, where they got him, he's a steal of the draft.
And they added depth. The only thing I will say about the Browns that I am not 100% on is their wide receivers.
Yes.
They have Jarvis, who is a stud.
Yeah.
OBJ's coming back.
Oops.
But OBJ came back last year and didn't play. He's coming back this year.
Supposedly had another foot injury all year. That's what they keep saying.
he doesn't fit this offense.
No.
And he's going to cause problems.
And they did this wide receiver they brought in, though, is fast.
Yes, and I liked the other wide receiver that they had. I liked him, but he's not great. And and their tight ends are
We have Austin Hooper and Njoku, right?
Yep.
And both of them were solid.
They didn't use
I don't
Hooper
think they utilized
properly.
the wide receivers, the tight ends properly at all last year.
And they are run first, so Kareem Hunt and Chubb are studs. Offensive
so you don't
line
really
is very
need the
good.
most talented wide receivers, but when you are run first, tight end first, having a speedy rookie wide receiver like this is good.
But when you go up against teams like Kansas City, yes, you have a stacked defense, but you're still not going to stop them.
No.
So you have to put up points. But I love what the Browns did. I hate saying it. I love what the Browns did. But added depth on offensive line, added depth on the defensive line, got a shutdown corner in Newsome, who I think is also a great draft pick. And this team is just moving in the right direction, and they're moving in the right direction fast.
Yep.
So that's 3 out of mine. So, because I did the Falcons, Panthers, and Browns. So
you want to do the fourth one?
You go ahead.
Okay. My next 3 were all teams that picked in the top 10.
Okay.
And I think has a lot to do with the talent they got available. A lot of these teams, we had a feeling what they were going to do. But it wasn't just their first round pick. It was the picks they added to it. So my next one is the Jets.
Okay.
For me, the fact that the Jets were able to draft 3 players ranked in the top 25 blows my mind. Okay. So the number 2 ranked quarterback, they got Zach Wilson. Vera Tucker was a top 10 player, and Elijah Moore was a top 25 drafted player. They got all 3 of them. And then to go along with Elijah Moore, you have Jamison Crowder, thank you. And Corey Davis. That only helps. You have Mekhi Becton on the line. Now you're adding Vera Tucker to it. Mm-hmm. You have Herndon, who is easily could be a top 15, top 10 tight end. He's really good. And then your defense is already stacked. You have a decent enough defense, and you have a defensive-minded coach. if this works out, this could be a great draft. And I just like the talent they brought in.
Didn't they bring in a running back too?
I can't remember his name right now.
I wanted to say they brought in one of the North Carolina kids.
Mikey. No, he had like a weird name, right? It was spelled funky.
I'm not sure. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, so I know they drafted a running back. I don't know if he'll start him.
Michael Carter.
But it's
from
spelled
North Carolina.
with a Y, right?
Nope.
No?
No.
Okay, I thought they had something spelled.
But again, they added 3 safeties, 2 cornerbacks, a defensive tackle, and then all the offensive
They already
weapons.
have an all-pro safety there already. And is it Marcus May? Is that who's there?
No, they just traded Adams. I don't know who. They have a cornerback.
That's who I'm thinking of then. So you're adding to a secondary with a defensive-minded coach.
Yep.
The reason I put the Jets here is because of the talent they picked and the picks they had.
Okay.
I feel like they picked 5 spots above every pick they had, other than Zach Wilson was number 2.
Okay.
Every time they picked, I was like, man, that was a steal every single time. So that's why I have them there. So what is your third?
My third
or
is
fourth team.
My fourth team.
Whatever you have next.
Yeah, my fourth team is Jacksonville.
Okay.
I think I have written down that first 5 picks easily will start and make a big impact.
Yep.
Added good D-line help and added some decent high upside tight end and wide receivers if they pan out at the end of the draft. Yep. Trevor Lawrence. The cornerback Campbell I think was very good there. Offensive tackle Walker Little at the 45th pick I wanted the Bengals to pick him.
Yeah.
And they took him right before the Bengals were picking again. I was very disappointed he was gone.
I think him, J.O.K., and Jabril Cox are 3 of the biggest steals in this draft where they got taken.
Yep.
And I like Walker Little. I don't know why he wasn't a first-round pick.
And then in the talk of that we did with last week, where we talked, this safety I think is the best safety in the draft, which was Cisco from Syracuse.
You're a Syracuse fan, so I understand.
But he's a hard-hitted stud that can play. And then teaming up Etienne with Lawrence, everybody said why, because you have Robinson.
They're 2 different types of running backs.
But why not? Like you said that Nate said that he thinks Etienne's the best running back in the draft.
I do too.
And I think this could be what I think. I think you drafted Etienne there to be your running back.
I think you did too.
To be the number 1 running back, and you're going to have Robinson spelling him. I think it's going to be a dual-headed running back situation, sort of like Cleveland has.
I was going to say like Cleveland, yeah.
And I think both are going to be fantasy relevant if you want to bring in fantasy, but I think both are going to have very good years.
I think Etienne's going to get a lot more catches.
Yeah.
I think Etienne's going to catch more of those swing, what are they called? Like just
little dump-offs.
Yeah, little dump-offs where I think Robinson's going to get more of the 1-2 downs, but I think on 3rd, 4th, I think you'll see Etienne a lot more.
But Jacksonville, I just think, took that step forward that a team that is 1 win and changing coaches, changing general managers, and wants to show the fan base that they're for real. I think this is the draft where they showed that, hey, we're for real and we're a place where people should want to come.
This is one of my teams. This is my 4th team as well. Depending on what they do, depending on spring training, depending on fall training and camps, this team could have easily went 1-15 to a playoff team this upcoming season. Very easily.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they will.
Tough division.
It's a tough division, but I'm just saying.
Tough division.
You brought in, I wrote the same thing, once-in-generational talent, Etienne. Trevor Lawrence. You brought in Etienne as teammate. I love Walker Little, and I absolutely love the steals of Tyson Campbell and Andre Cisco. I wrote that exact thing down. Yep. Andre Cisco, to me, was my number 2 safety. I had Trayvon Moehrig ahead of him. But you can't go wrong when you get, again, just like the Jets did, the top 5 players you drafted. I feel like you picked each one of them few picks before you needed to. Does that make sense? Like you stole on these guys. Like these were guys that as soon as they were picked, every team after you went, damn it.
Right.
That's who I wanted. And I think the Jets did the same thing. And that's how you win draft day.
Yes. And my last team, and I know people will call me a homer for this, but I picked the Bengals. And the reason why I did is because they got better in a number of ways. Okay, and they got better at the wide receiver position. They got better at the offensive line. They got better on the defensive line, and they got better, at kicker, which kicker is what I said. I don't agree with the kicker spot.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't. But what I do agree with is Carmen trading down.
Yeah.
Okay, you traded down. This is the guy. This is the coaches have said it. The general manager said it. This is the guy we wanted. And the Patriots wanted to trade with us, and they were offering us 2 fourth-round picks and their 3rd. Second, sorry. So they got the Patriots second, which was like 11 picks later, and they got 2 fourth-round picks. Okay, and with those, so they got Carmen, who they even said is not a very good NFL tackle, but he's going to be a great NFL guard.
Yeah.
And that's where they're putting him, is at guard. So I'm very happy about that. But this is the 2 players they got, with their fourth-round picks. This is who they got. The kid from Texas, Osai, who I think was a second to third round pick. Sample and Shelvin. Defensive tackle, defensive edge player. Yep. Those guys are going to play, and they're going to play a lot. And I think that is the reason, one of the main reasons why I have the Bengals winning is because of the trade. Yeah. And then going back and then getting those 3 defensive players, and then the offensive lineman Smith, he will play this year, and he could start this year, but he will start next year.
I have honorable mention of the Bengals in my list of honorable mentions. I almost put them there. I think it would have been absolutely stupid for them to not take Jamar Chase. Although I still in my heart think they would have been better off long run drafting Penei Sewell or a tackle.
Everybody does. Every single person.
And I don't hate the pick because I said it in the group. I think of all the players in the draft, of all of our favorite teams, he's going to be an all-pro first. He's going to be a Pro Bowler, Rookie of the Year candidate.
Yeah.
I just think in the long run, that tackle for the left side of your line or right side of your line, bringing in to protect your future asset would have been great when your wide receivers were already really good. I mean, you're not dealing with a low-key Philadelphia wide receiver situation. You have 3 great wide receivers, or at least 2 really good ones, and 1 getting better with T. Higgins. Right?
But I feel that
it's not a bad pick, though.
I feel like with the offensive lineman Smith and Hill coming in.
Yes.
Okay, and you also got Carmen coming in. Plus you have the guy
Jonah Williams healthy.
Yep, and you have Reef at the outside.
Yep. He's a little older, but
and you have Swain, who they picked up from Buffalo last year, that started every game this year. That was very good. This offensive line right now today is 100 times better than the offensive line they put out last year.
Oh, of course.
And Mixon's going to be healthy. You have, yes, T. Higgins and Boyd, but now adding Chase to that, it's only going to make those 2 better. Yeah. And I do feel that this is going to be a huge difference, and this team is going to be dangerous. And especially with those players that they picked up on defense, big, fast, and just able to get after it. I don't know if you've ever watched Shelvin play. He is a big,
where did he play?
Huge LSU.
Yeah.
He is a big, huge body.
Yeah.
He would have been a first, high second round pick if he didn't sit out last year.
Let me ask you
It's
this.
another one of those LSU kids that didn't play.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like with Osai coming in, who's gets after the quarterback and has a motor, and you have the kid Sample coming in, who same thing, adding him to a defensive line that is very good. I just think that you just upgraded immensely.
Well, let me flip this, and the reason why I didn't put them in my top 5, I have them somewhere around 8th best draft in my opinion. What was their second round pick? Who was it?
Second round pick was Carmen.
Okay, so let me flip this on you. So they took Jamar Chase and Carmen. In my draft, what I wanted them to do in my head leading up to it, watching that night, is I wanted Penei Sewell and Rondale Moore.
Okay.
Would you have been mad, or Terrence Marshall? Would you have been mad about that? Now, I'm not saying they did wrong. It's just flipping the 2. You get the best tackle, and now you're getting a top 3 wide receiver, whereas you got the best wide receiver and a top 5 tackle.
I feel that Jamar Chase is a...
You think he's that special? I'm not saying you're wrong.
I think he's a... Julio Jones.
Okay.
I think he's a AJ Green. And everybody looks at AJ Green.
AJ Green when he was healthy was a monster.
Think about AJ Green first 10 years.
Dude, he was a monster.
And Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
I think he's Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Think about this, okay? On that LSU team, Justin Jefferson just won Rookie of the Year, had an unbelievable season. Jamar Chase made him easily.
Did he win a Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Oh, okay.
And he made... Jefferson was a second thought on that team. Yeah. And that just is how good this kid is. And I don't even care. Even if Burrow wasn't our quarterback, I'd be happy with Chase.
Oh, absolutely. No. I'm saying I think Chase was...
Sewell was my third third one.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. It was Chase, Pitts, Sewell.
Well, the point I say, we knew Pitts wasn't going to be there, but I was saying was,
would I have been mad at that? What you said, like getting Marshall
Sewell and then getting a wide receiver in the second round?
No. But
you think this is the better move?
The way the wide receivers fell, like think about it. We didn't even like.
This is obviously predicting those wide receivers might not have been there.
Right. And so that's why I look at it as this kid is yes, is Sewell a generational talent? Yes. But I just feel in this day and age with the NFL, and yes, you have to protect him, but I think they did enough.
I think you have enough to handle your quarterback. And to be fair, let's all bring this up. Burrow was sacked a lot, and a lot of his sacks also were on his bad decision-making. Yes. 2, let's not talk about the injury, because the injury was not from a sack. He ran the ball outside the offensive line and went for a scramble, and that's when he tore his ACL. So I need people to understand.
But at the same time...
But this is a better line than it was.
He held the ball too long sometimes.
Yeah.
And that is a testament to the wide receivers not being able to get open. If you watch a lot of the catches T. Higgins made this year... They were contested catches.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't getting wide open. Where I think now, because T. Higgins was getting double covered as a rookie, now you're adding somebody that can take the top off the defense, can get a bubble screen and take it to the house easily, and you're putting Tyler Boyd back in his original position that made him a Pro Bowler.
Yep.
You're now going to get... But this is going to be a dynamic offense.
Oh, of course.
And I just feel like that's why I put them in there. And I do have honorable mentions of the Giants, Chicago, Chargers, Dolphins. Cowboys were close. I feel the Cowboys picked players that were rated lower too high.
Yeah, well, the reason they did that, and I will go into this, is I didn't pick Dallas in my top 5 because I don't think they had a top 5 draft. However, the players they picked weren't on other people's radars, and I eventually found out why. I listened to a podcast, a Dallas Cowboy podcast, and one of the guys was saying, he works for an insider, saying these people that they wanted, they picked earlier because these are people that specifically only fit a specific style of offense that this defensive coordinator runs, and I'm drawing a blank on his head.
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn, thank you. I almost said Dan Skin, and that's not right. That he wants a certain type of players that he wants. And the problem was there was none of them early. So he said, I'm just going to take them early. I want them, whether they're 5th round talents. So the NFL graded them as 5th, 6th, 7th round talents, but the team did not. So we'll find out when the draft starts. I think Micah Parsons. Oh, go ahead.
No, and to add to that, that's the Carmen pick by the Bengals. They had him high.
They love him, but the NFL didn't. And that's understandable.
That's the thing. And when you have, like, Willie Anderson was a Pro Bowl, should be a Hall of Fame offensive tackle for the Bengals. When he was asked, and Munoz was asked about this pick, about Carmen, they said, we'd rather have Sewell, but watch this kid.
Yeah.
This kid is special. So I'm okay with it. But Micah Parsons was an absolute steal.
Yeah, I did not think that was going to happen.
For trading back.
Yeah. So I have this picture here, and I don't remember where it was, but I sent it the other day in our group. And the reason I sent it was because for me, it was very interesting, okay? So some of the people Dallas picked, okay? This was last year. So Dallas picked Micah Parsons, who I thought was a steal. Yep. Absolutely. I didn't think they were going to take him, but he was there. We ended up getting another draft pick out of it. We got Jabril Cox, who I thought was another absolute steal, and he fell. And Kelvin Joseph, who they want to start at corner, okay? So listen to this. The 4 people we drafted, Kelvin Joseph, Nashawn Wright, Israel Mukamu, and Jabril Cox last year, okay? All in college. Kelvin Joseph had 4 interceptions in 15 games. Nashawn Wright had 15 interceptions and 5 interceptions in 16 games. Israel Mukamu, had 7 interceptions in 22 games. And Jabril Cox had 8 interceptions in his career from the linebacker position.
Yeah,
so they brought
Jabril Cox at 115 is a very good pick.
And so with my saying this, I didn't put Dallas in there because I think I would have put Dallas in my top 5 if they got Surtain over Parsons. And the reason I say that is because I think cornerback was a bigger need than linebacker. And that's the only reason why. Plus, I didn't really like the draft. I think they're good players, but I think only 2 of the players I named are starters. I don't think Jabril Cox starts. I think he'll be a good rotational player. But Kelvin Joseph will start, and I absolutely think Micah Parsons will start day 1 in the line. On middle linebacker. So I didn't put them there. But my 5th team, I'll make it quick before we get to the bad losers because I want to spend time on that as well. I put the Chargers. I know a lot of people are going to argue with that. The biggest problem with the Chargers was they lost their tight end last year. So they've lost a really big 1,000-yard type tight end.
Yep.
But they probably drafted, in my opinion, with getting Slater, I think is a fantastic move. One of the best left tackles in the draft. And I think getting one of the best cornerbacks in Asante Samuel only helps too. Josh Palmer is a great wide receiver for Herbert. And they got Trey McKitty also as a tight end who could help. Now, this is the benefit of this team is I think they needed more wide receiver help. I think they need more help. But I think overall the team they have and the people they brought in, they're only going to go up from here. They brought in another tackle, which was their problem, protecting their quarterback last year. They had the same situation the Bengals did. They brought in more linemen too than what I named, but I think getting Asante Samuel, getting Slater, I think those two are solid picks. They got them both early, and I think that'll help them. Again, I could replace them with the Bengals. I wouldn't be mad. I could replace them with a lot of other teams. But I think the teams I named before the Chargers with the Panthers, Browns, Jags, and Jets, to me are above the rest of the teams. Best picks in the league. And that's just the way I feel, man. So... Losers. Oh, man.
So the losers, I feel...
I think you did yours a little differently than mine.
I did. So we went through, and I know one team we have two teams the same.
Yep.
We have the Saints and the Seahawks,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
So we'll go quickly. We'll do those.
Sure.
So the Saints, to me, the Saints are depleted.
Absolutely
And they didn't do enough to add any depth or any talent to this team.
Yep.
Not to say that their draft was, but the places where they drafted and the people they drafted, this is a real big problem if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, because I don't see a way that this is going to end well.
No.
Because you're relying on, I can't even find New Orleans right now in my thing because I can't say the alphabet.
You're relying on the first pick? Is that what you're saying?
You're relying on what you already have being enough.
They're one of the teams that think they're still last year's team this year.
Yes.
They think it's carrying over. And it's what Seattle's been doing for a decade.
Right. But this team, it's lost bad. So much defensively. Yeah. And losing Drew Brees and replacing him with Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill.
Don't forget Ian Book from Notre Dame. He's a stud.
But I don't get that pick.
No, it doesn't.
You sign both these guys.
Yes, exactly.
And you restructure Taysom Hill, and you sign Jameis to a 1-year contract, and you waste a fourth-round pick on a quarterback that
will never play. He's the next A.J. McCarron. He'll never play.
And I'm looking at it, and Peyton Turner's decent.
He's a third-round talent.
Pete Warner isn't going to be very good. You lost all your cornerbacks and your safeties. You didn't replace them. You don't have you pick a wide receiver with your last pick, and that's one of your biggest needs.
So what I wrote down was, where do I even begin? You need quarterback and wide receiver. Both were available in the first round, and you took a third-round talent, Peyton Turner, a backup cornerback in round 3 who will probably never start, and I didn't write his name down. Debo. And then you literally took your wide receiver in the 7th round.
Right.
And I literally wrote, what the F, right next to him. What?
I don't get it. I don't get the direction they're trying to go. You have Kamara and Michael Thomas. Okay. And what else?
That's the thing.
You don't have anything else.
I don't think I can name somebody else.
Because Emmanuel Sanders went to Buffalo.
Yeah.
I believe he went to Buffalo. And then you have... I can't name their tight end because they lost Jared Cook.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at this as going, what are you doing? And I understand the window closed. I even said before last year that the window was closed.
Yeah.
But now you are close to being what I said, and Logan never told me his friend's name that listens to the show and is very mad at me for calling the Eagles a dumpster fire.
They are a dumpster fire, bro.
Which, by the way, I will give the Eagles a shout-out. They had a very good draft.
Oh, I thought they did too.
And next year, they have even more picks. And if they can draft like they did this year, next year, watch out for the Eagles making a quick turnaround.
I need to talk to that blue-green nation, though, about saying that their quarterback's the best in NFCs. Chill out.
But chill out. I'm looking at it as the Saints are in trouble. And
absolutely.
They're easily
they could easily finish in last in the division.
In their division, yes. And
that's crazy.
And then Seattle.
Oh, yeah, we got Seattle, too.
Seattle, no picks. And the 3 they had... I don't even know what you were thinking.
They're not starters.
You drafted a wide receiver.
Dwayne Eskridge is nice, or what is it, Dwayne, whatever it was. But so I wrote this down, and I just said it a minute ago. Okay, I said, remember this draft grades when I said this earlier. Only having 3 picks is why I put you here. But you're holding on to the 2013 season.
Yes.
Let it go.
Yep.
Let it go. You brought in a wide receiver that you didn't need this position right there.
You're fighting so hard to keep Russell Wilson.
That's what you're doing.
And my thing is this, it's sort of like, why? You didn't have draft picks. If you traded him, you could have had first-round picks this year. You could have had, first-round picks next year, and you don't have anything. And this team is, again, in a division that keeps getting better. San Francisco's healthy and better.
Yeah. They had a hell of a draft.
Got upgraded at the most important position, which is quarterback.
Yeah.
Cam Akers is a stud.
I don't think they had a very good draft, but in general,
not
yes.
a very good draft. But they didn't need they didn't need a knock it out of the park draft. They still have. And then you're looking at Arizona.
Yep.
And they got better in the draft and in free agency.
Yep.
So I don't get it. Like, Seattle to me is, again, they might finish 9-6 because, well, they can't this year because there's too many games. So they might finish 9-8.
Probably. I could see it.
8-9.
I think they'll win majority of games because of having Russell, but
but those are the two that we had in common.
Okay.
And I'm going to say my first that we don't have in common, I don't think, because you looked at my list, but the Raiders.
I don't have the Raiders.
I'm putting the Raiders here because the Raiders, a second year in a row, reached for players that would have been there later.
Yep.
And I don't understand the Leatherwood trade. I mean, the Leatherwood pick in the first round.
Obviously, their scout, what was his name, Mayock or whatever it is? Yeah, obviously, he knows what he's doing, they say.
He loves Leatherwood. And you could have traded back.
Yeah,
gotten more picks and gotten him much later.
When are they going to address all the position needs they need?
You love Morig, the safety from TCU.
I do.
Which is it's a good pick. But
I think their offensive line needs more help than that, though.
Yes, and you didn't draft offensive line. You drafted
really
the rest of it. You didn't draft a wide receiver, which you need.
Yep.
You didn't draft offensive line. You drafted defense and secondary and linebackers. And then in the last round, you drafted a center who I don't even think
will probably end up playing.
And so I'm looking at it as you traded all these guys away, you cut all these guys on your offensive line, you don't have wide receivers to speak of, and because you even lost Aguilar. Aguilar was your best wide receiver last year,
he's
and
not very good.
and so I put the Raiders as being one of the worst drafts. I don't get it. I don't understand, what they're thinking and why they're doing what they're doing, but it's frustrating, and I'm not even a Raiders fan.
So my worst pick for the losers, I'm just going to go ahead and say because it's on the same page as the Saints and Seahawks, is the Texans.
Okay.
For me, NFL.com gave them a B-, and I think they were smoking crack and meant D-. The reason I say this is their first pick was a quarterback. I get it. You don't know about Deshaun Watson's situation, but that was your first pick. Why not find a way to trade people, move up into the first, and get another quarterback? Why not try to move up and go after? I know you only had your first pick was in the third round. Trade an asset or two, and move up and try to get the quarterback from Florida. Why this kid who wasn't even on anybody's radar? Second off, you added a lot of people that are just positional depth players. You didn't add a single stud in this draft.
No.
So
the only reason why they're not in my bottom 5 is I love Davis Mills.
Oh, I do too.
I think he's going to be a very good quarterback.
But this is my thing. I think he's great too. I watched him at Stanford. The problem is the whole team doesn't have enough. This draft, they needed 15 more picks.
Yes.
This team is so bad they probably won't win but 1 or 2 games next year if they're lucky.
Right.
So the point was when I did my losers is the picks you brought in, are they going to help you? I don't think any of these picks helped them this year. And I just think you were in this situation because you make stupid trades and the best player on your team is a left tackle.
Yes, but to your thing though, they have nothing.
I know. So
this
helps.
Nothing. Like they have nothing to offer to trade up.
Yep. I put them in here because they put themselves in the third round as their first pick. This is their fault why they had a bad draft.
Yeah, and so I agree.
The picks weren't bad players. Just none of them will probably end up being really good. They're just players,
right? And you have to understand, like they're in such limbo because of the Deshaun Watson scandal that you have no idea what they're going to be doing. So, I mean, I can see where you're coming from, and agree, disagree. They're probably in my honorable mention for bottom, the bottom. But I think that my next team that I'm going to talk about is Detroit. Detroit got Sewell. Okay, and that's going to help. Okay,
that's not who I thought they should have picked, though.
But you didn't address the wide receiver position that got gutted in the offseason.
Absolutely gutted.
You didn't address. You addressed a defensive tackle with your next 2 picks in the second and third round. They're good. They're going to play. Your defense is okay. The Syracuse cornerback, he's good, but he gets beat often deep. He's okay at man-to-man. He's horrible at press. So let's put it that way. When Syracuse had him pressing, he got beat on double moves.
That's why he got picked later in the rounds.
But you didn't address wide receiver until the 112th pick. And then you go and you pick a running back with your last pick. Like, you have 5 running backs on your... Well, now Kerryon Johnson, they cut. You have Adrian Peterson that they don't want on their team anymore. No. And you have Swift, who's a 4-down back.
Yeah.
Like, Penny Sewell makes it so they got a good grade by all measures, by everybody that grades. But my thing is you didn't do anything to upgrade that offense.
Yeah.
And you have no wide receivers to throw to. You gave Goff nothing. You have Hawkinson and Swift. And I don't think either of them are going to be very good this year based off of what you drafted.
Probably not.
And, I mean, you could get lucky with later cuts from people to get players, which I think they could, because I think there's going to be a lot of cap casualties and or a lot of players being cut because of players drafted.
Well, of course.
Where you could get these players like wide receivers and stuff like that. But I put Detroit in my bottom 5 just for the simple fact that they didn't upgrade in the positions that they desperately needed.
Yep.
So
for me, my 4th team in the bottom 5 that I have is the Rams. Okay. I put the Rams there because I think they have a really good team. I think bringing in Matthew Stafford helps. But here's the problem. Their picks don't make sense. To me, they don't. Okay? And the reason I say that is Tutu Atwell makes no sense to me at all. It was easily one of my worst picks I saw. And the reason I say that is because they drafted Tavon Austin a few years ago, okay? One of the most explosive college players to play the game. 175 pounds. Literally useless in the NFL. He's been irrelevant, and he's literally 10 times faster than any other small wide receiver. And you draft a 150-pound wide receiver, 25 pounds less than Tavon Austin, and 30 pounds less than Cole Beasley. He's going to die. First off, it makes no sense, okay? Yep. Second off, Ernest Jones, I think, is a decent enough linebacker. Bobby Brown, I think, can be a starting defensive tackle, okay? But the players you brought into me are a lot of depth players. I don't think any of these players were super steals. I don't think they went nuts. I don't think any of these players were absolute, whoa, great pick.
Right. You draft these 3 wide receivers in the picks that you have.
Yep.
I actually really like Jake Funk.
I do too.
The Maryland running back, but you have Cam Akers.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you have Cam Akers. And what's their other running back? They have somebody else there too.
Yes, I can't think. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but I know who you're talking about. But it's one of those things where I'm looking at it, and you could shake your head on it, but I think they did enough with other than when they picked Tutu Atwell, I was like, what?
That dude's literally the size of my child.
It was sort of like the next team I'm going to talk about, my 5th team.
Yeah.
Their 2nd round pick made me go, huh?
Yeah.
Like, that makes absolutely no sense
at all. To me, people and the friends who may listen to this go, well, you picked the Rams and then you picked, the Seahawks and the Saints. Like, okay, the Rams are good. And honestly, they could have sat this draft out and been fine. That's my point with why they're a loser, is if they sat this draft out and didn't have a single pick, I think they'd be just fine. I don't think any of their picks made them one game better.
They didn't do what, say, the Browns did or the Colts did,
which didn't find talent early.
Got better because of the depth they've drafted that is going to be starters in a few years, but depth now.
So look at it. Where's the JOKs? Where's the Jabril Coxes?
Yeah.
Where's the Leatherwoods? Where are these people? And people like, well, those are big names. I get that. But the point is, I don't think any of their players they drafted make them over the top over San Francisco or possibly even Arizona.
Yep.
So I will say Matthew Stafford is the best pick they had, and he was done weeks before the draft.
Yeah.
The rest of the draft didn't matter. I think they could have sat it out.
So my next...
This will be your last.
Yep. Is the Steelers.
Okay. They're an honorable mention of mine. I don't like it at all.
Najee Harris, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But I will say this about Alabama running backs. Besides Derrick Henry, who can you name that made it past their rookie contract and was relevant? Like
Wow.
Ingram, Mark Ingram.
Ingram didn't get a big deal after his rookie contract, though, did he?
No, but Ingram is still in the league.
What's the big dude? Eddie Lacy?
Eddie Lacy, he didn't get a second contract.
He didn't, did he?
He ate
Green
himself
Bay.
out of the league.
Dude, he's such a...
Richardson. Richardson. The
what's...
he was like
I know who you're talking about. I can't think right now. TJ Yeldon?
TJ Yeldon, but...
Again, who?
Yeah.
Again, a who? Kind of. He had a couple decent years, couple decent games.
A couple of decent games.
Yeah, as a backup.
A handful of good games.
He was a running back for a few years for Jacksonville, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, yes, great talent.
Yeah.
But the one thing Alabama does is they run the hell out of their running backs.
Yeah, they do.
And those running backs take a beating. And Nick Saban's not shy about it.
No, he lets people know. He tells people.
And so I like the pick. It is a need, and it's somebody that's going to start day one. And if he is, if he can do it, hey, good for you.
Yeah.
But they needed offensive line so badly. And
So
and in the second round, you pick a tight end that is very good.
Yeah.
But you pick a tight end that is very good, especially when people like, I believe Cosme was on the board. I believe Radins was on the board.
Who did they pick? Pat Fairmouth?
Yeah.
They did pick him?
Yep.
Okay.
And,
I think that's how you pronounce that.
Third and fourth round,
he is good, but
you picked a center and an offensive tackle.
That probably won't start.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
And then you pick defense, which you needed help on defense, but nobody that is going to make your team go, oh, yeah, there we go. And then the last pick was a punter.
Yeah, so this is what bothers me with the Steelers, and they're not in my list, but I want to go on them because we still have some time to kill here. We're early. So the problem with the Steelers, and to me, is Najee Harris is a great pick there, okay? But you had James Conner for 4 years. He did nothing. People are like, well, Najee Harris could be different. Could he? Your line is still garbage.
Yeah.
Your quarterback is still declining.
Yes.
He makes a lot of money, and you have one absolute stud of a wide receiver, Claypool. You can't name the other ones. Washington's
Juju.
okay. Juju, but
Washington, and there was another one in there.
I meant Juju. I, for some reason in my head, thought Juju was traded, so I'm sorry about that, fans. But in general, the problem here is that you have a team that I think, now I say think, they were bad a few years ago with the injury of, but I think they're still holding on to something they're not. And the problem I have is, did their draft get good enough to beat the Ravens, to beat the upcoming Bengals, or to beat the current champion of the division, the Browns?
And the Ravens were the champs.
Well, I know, but to me, I think
actually, the Steelers were the champs.
Well, they were, but they lost their last 6 games. So I'm saying they're on the decline. The Browns are on the rise. The Bengals better look out for the Bengals. And in the Ravens, we don't know what they're doing, but I bet they still win 10, 11 games.
Yeah.
So this division is stacked, and the Steelers didn't do it. I think they just missed.
Okay.
Now, the players they brought in were fine, but I think they just missed. And I think bringing in your future backup for for Ben would have been a good idea. But that didn't happen. So I don't know. I just don't like their draft. And I know we have Austin that listens. I know he's a big Steelers fan. I'm not knocking him. I just don't think it was that good of a draft. But I at times didn't think my team was a good draft. But it may grow on us as a Steelers draft. We might need to see what their camps do. Najee Harris could be Rookie of the Year.
Right.
We don't know yet. So
exactly.
It's just hard to tell.
Yep.
I have one last team, and I put Green Bay on here.
Okay.
We talked about them earlier, and the reason is because the team they have and the quarterback they have, I felt like for once again, they didn't draft what your quarterback would want. Now, I'm not saying you need to draft what he wants. He's not Brady. But for 5 straight years, if you drafted somebody that Brady would have wanted, like, hey, just get me a good talented wide receiver in the first, and you continuously draft kickers or punters or corners, you're going to eventually kind of create some animosity here. So with me, I don't hate their draft. But Elijah Moore and Rondale Moore were both right there when they took another talent that doesn't help them on offense. Mm-hmm. That's it. They took the quarterback last year. I think there was better players available for them, and I think taking a Rondale Moore, we'd be talking about can Green Bay beat Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship this year.
Offensive line is a question mark me for them.
But that's not even who they took.
No, I know. And so we talked about Green Bay earlier. My stance stays. I don't think they did enough to keep Rodgers happy.
I don't think they did either.
But at the same time, I think it's one of those things where if they had drafted well the players that they drafted and they panned out better, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is saying anything.
But let's even say they took Rondale Moore or Elijah Moore, okay? And Aaron Rodgers was still being a baby, still being a Karen. So he leaves. The quarterback they drafted last year would be excited to have that wide receiver.
Yeah.
So at least if you're not drafting for Rodgers and you want to be a meanie to him, then draft for the quarterback that's sitting on the bench.
A meanie?
Yeah, I wanted to say it.
All right.
Been finding a way to say that all day.
All right. So we have a little bit of time left, correct?
We do. Yep.
All right. So I want to talk about two teams that a lot of our fans are fans of.
Okay.
A lot of people that listen to the show, these are the teams they like. I want to talk about Philadelphia and I want to talk about Washington. Okay. I think Washington hit this draft out of the park.
I do too.
Okay. They're not in my top 5 because I just didn't put them there because they didn't draft that difference maker on offense that I think they needed.
I have them at 8th on my list. So
Jamin Davis at 19,
good pick,
is a very good pick. This kid is unbelievable. And then getting Cosme in the second round at 51 is awesome. And then one of my favorite players in this draft was Dyami Brown, and they got him. And I'm looking at it, and the people they got at the end, the defensive players, this draft was very good quality, not only depth in certain positions, but also starters. Yeah. And linebacker was their biggest weakness.
And they filled it.
They filled it. And then offensive tackle, to that offensive line is only going to be better.
Yeah.
I don't think, and I do know they had a couple wide receivers that were hurt.
Yeah.
You have Scary Terry, who he hates that nickname, but that's what everybody calls him. I think Dyami Brown's very good. Mims, is it Mims that I'm thinking of?
There's a Mims there.
And then they had a guy that was out for the season that's coming back. And I like Logan Thomas.
I do too. I think he's a stud.
But I also like this kid that I don't know if you ever watched this kid play, the tight end from Boise State. He's a really good blocker and he's got good hands. He's not going to he's not going to blow you away, but he's very good. So I think Washington hit it out of the park. I don't know how you feel about it.
I have Washington 8th on my list. I have them as the best draft in the NFC East.
Okay.
That's what I put them as. I think my only question was I still would have liked to see them address the quarterback of the future position because Fitzpatrick keeps doing well with Miami, right? Mm-hmm. He did. He does well at every stop. What if he doesn't? What if he ends up losing you the first 2 games, and then you put in this kid you've had since the Panthers? I can't think of his name right now. Texas A&M kid. He played last year for them and got hurt.
I know
and they put him in.
I see his face, but I don't see his name.
And they put him in. And then,
I like Heineke.
I do too. Heineke as well. But
Heineke. What's the difference?
Is it Heineke or Heineke?
He doesn't listen, so if I said it wrong, it's okay.
Well, he might listen. He'll come back and be like, I hate your podcast. So my point is, I would have just liked to see. I would have put them in my top 5 if I could have seen them take like a Davis Mills in the 3rd round or just another quarterback that's a rookie that I think they want to groom.
Yep.
Now, I know they didn't do that. Now, I'm not mad about that. I think this season going into it, they can still win the division. I have them winning the division as of right now. But I do think the Fitzpatrick situation could at some point be the handicap.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's fair to say. Allen. Yep. Josh Allen. Not Josh Allen.
Not Josh Allen, but Allen's his name. Don't ask me the first name. I got the second name. So
Jared? No.
But my thing with Washington though is this: you can win if you can win with a hobbled Alex Smith and playing Haskins half the season, and you could still win the division at 7-9 and almost take the defending champions out.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the Washington Redskins as winners, and right now. Looking at it like briefly right now, I have Washington being the best team in the East.
I could see it.
Just because that defense is scary. Mm-hmm. And that defense is only getting better. Yeah. And they are scary. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, they are probably a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender.
Absolutely. They're close.
But
the team they have is still good.
The people that haven't gotten their 5th-year options taken, the people that are going to be available next year are going to, I think could upgrade over Fitzpatrick and Allen and Heineke.
This is my only problem is looking at, as a college football fan myself, and I know the guys are too, I don't like the quarterbacks of next year. So I maybe DC does, but for me, I was like, man, I would love to see DC, even though I'm a Dallas fan, I hate DC, but I would love to see them at least taking somebody here when you have 3 quarterbacks. Yes, Fitzpatrick, we know what he is, but to me, I think the 3 quarterbacks you have are a little bit unknown.
But what about this? Okay, and I'm going to throw this out there before I talk about the Philadelphia dumpster fire Eagles.
Oh, great.
Okay, Deshaun Watson is going to play again in the NFL.
At some point.
Okay, he may not play this year, but I don't think he plays for the Texans ever again.
No.
And I think the Texans either cut him or trade him for pennies on the dollar.
Oh, yeah.
And I think somebody like Washington, somebody like not New England because they picked up
Miami.
Mac Jones.
Miami,
if Tua doesn't pan out, like
Philly should listen to that deal.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Like I think that's something to think about and something to remember. And also Rodgers.
Yep.
You could trade for Rodgers. So I'm looking at it as, I like Washington.
Oh, absolutely.
I think, and
the direction they're going as of right now, like I said, I have them as the best team in the East at the moment.
Yep.
I don't know what Dallas's defense will be. I don't know if changing one coordinator makes you go from the 32nd ranked to the 10th ranked. I don't think that happens.
Right.
But if Dallas was 32nd and ends up 20th with one of the hottest offenses last year, we're going to compete with them this year.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see. However, if DC brings in any sort of Watson or any sort of Rodgers, I don't want to watch.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it because that's not fair to me. That's not fair as a Dallas fan. It hurts my feelings.
And I will say this.
They are a good team.
Talking about the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep.
Okay. We made fun of them. We said that their GM doesn't know how to draft, doesn't know how to do this, don't know how to do this. They had a great draft.
They did too. Yeah, I agree.
They had a great draft. And I think Devontae Smith is a really good wide receiver.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's going to do well. They got better at offensive line. They got better on defense. I don't understand bringing in the running back from Memphis, who's very good, but then bringing in Kerryon Johnson.
Makes no sense.
And also having Boston and the kid from you have the starter, Miles Sanders.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that running back room is too crowded.
It is.
I don't understand what you're doing.
It's too crowded for a line that's rated in the last 5 of the league.
Yep.
It's too much.
But I think they got younger on defense, which is important. And if they hit on 5 out of all these 5 picks out of all these picks, that's a good draft. And then you're going into next year where you're going to have 3. Because right now you have 2 first-round picks. Carson Wentz is playing 70% of the snaps, and Indianapolis is going to make the playoffs. You're going to get a 3rd first-round pick. So I think the Eagles have positioned themselves to start this rebuild and get this rebuild going. And if Jalen Hurts is a starting quarterback in the NFL, you are coming back quick. And you're ahead of the Giants.
It's a quick
rebuild.
I
will say that. You're ahead of the Giants because, again, Daniel Jones, yes, you don't know. I thought they reached for that wide receiver that they drafted in the first round. I think he's really good, but that wasn't somebody that I looked at like you traded back to get a wide receiver when you could have gotten the 2nd or 3rd best wide receiver in the draft where you were. I didn't get the Giants draft.
Yeah, I think the Eagles, to me, I'd have them tied around the 2nd best draft of the NFC East, tied with Dallas to me. The problem with the Giants, very simple. I don't think it matters what you do. Your quarterback, to me, is doing what Baker Mayfield has done the last few years. When are you going to show me that you're not below average? Baker finally did it.
Yeah.
But this kid they're using, I will continue to say this, and I hope everybody who listens laughs when I say this. Eli Manning retired just for you to draft Eli Manning. He's doing the same thing. He turns it over twice as much as he makes touchdown passes. He is butterfingers. He doesn't read defense as well. And my problem is you had a great draft, but your quarterback is a liability. I think the Eagles had a great draft, but at times Jalen Hurts came in, played well. Next game played terribly.
Right.
He was up or down, no in between. So I think right now, healthy, not knowing what the defense is doing, I think DC is clearly the best team in the division.
Okay.
I think Dallas will be right behind them by a game or 2, and I think the Eagles and Giants finish at the bottom, and I don't think it's close.
So let me ask you. So 2 teams in the first round that took quarterbacks.
Yes.
That we haven't talked about. We have a lot of people in New England that listen to this, and I know one friend of mine, he just started listening, Brad. He loves Chicago.
What's up, Brad?
So New England takes Mac Jones.
Yep.
Takes Barmore in the second round, traded up for him. I feel New England had a very good draft. I think they had a very good offseason. And then Chicago with Fields and everything else they did, I thought they had a very good draft also.
I do too.
What do you feel about those two teams?
So to me, the hard part is I don't even know how to explain it. So I'll start with the Patriots first. So New England fans, what's up? The problem I have with this pick is that you brought in a quarterback who is the future of your team. And I like him. I think he's really talented. He's pretty much Big Ben. He's a statue. He doesn't move very well, but he's got a great cannon of an arm, and he's very accurate. But you have him playing and learning from Cam, which is great. But they're two polar opposites. Polar opposites. Now, if anybody can get it done, it's Bill Belichick. It's Hall of Fame Bill Belichick. It's one day it's going to be the Belichick Trophy. I get it. He can do it. And you have two great tight ends. I still can't name a wide receiver on the roster, but your tight ends are great. Your defense is great. He knows what he's doing. Give the Patriots a couple years. I think by the 4th or 5th week, Cam's not starting.
Okay.
I'll jump to Chicago real quick. I was not a big, huge Justin Fields fan. It's just an Ohio State thing. It has nothing to do with who he is. I'd put a list on our page of our Facebook group here of all the quarterbacks of Ohio State. None of them have a Pro Bowl from like 1980 something. So the point is I don't think he's a bad pick. I don't know what he's going to be.
Okay.
The wide receiver talent on the team, running back talent. Yeah, you have a couple people. Defense is great, but I think the Bears are going to be a couple years still away.
Okay.
I think they're going to groom him slowly. Does that make sense? I think he could be the potential of like a Josh Allen, but I think he might need a step every year to get a little better. I think expecting Lawrence success, Herbert success, Burrow success is a little ridiculous year one because I don't think Fields like that. I think he needs a little more time. That's me. Okay. But I think both of those teams won their drafts. I just don't have them in my top fives because I think they're later.
I don't have. Yeah, I had to even put New England.
This was
as
one of my
honorable
favorite
mentions.
quarterback classes I've ever watched in the NFL
This
draft.
was one of my favorite
Drafts
first round drafts.
Yeah.
Like first round talent in this draft, and then second round talent in this draft. Like some of these teams, like I'm looking at Tevin Jenkins for the offensive tackle from Oklahoma State that went number 39 to Chicago.
Yeah,
and then
I thought he was a first round grade.
Like I just looked at it and I'm like, okay, like. This is going to be fun, and I think some bad teams got better, and I think some good teams got
really bad.
Some good teams got really bad, and I also think some good teams stayed good.
Yes.
And so I think this year is going to be good. It's 17-game season now, so it's going to be very interesting.
I think there's one team I didn't mention, and I don't have them pulled up here. I want to pull them up because I forgot what they did, and that is Kansas City.
Kansas City, okay.
So I want to bring them up real quick because they were the second place, obviously. They lost in the Super Bowl, obviously. I liked their draft. I thought they brought in players to me that fit exactly what they needed. Okay, and they were late round picks, right? They had the end of the first round. They had
no first round pick.
Oh yeah, sorry. They had the end of the second round, right?
Yep.
Was it? And I think with what they got, I think they needed to just fill a couple depth positions, and I think they did that. Okay. They also brought in another lineman. They drafted a lineman, and they signed another lineman. They brought in a bunch of line to help out, and I want to just give the Chiefs a shout out for having such no picks in the draft. They did what Texans, Green Bay, and Seahawks didn't do.
Right.
With the little bit of picks they had, they brought in players that are going to make a difference on day one.
Okay, so last but not least, I don't want to talk about them because I hate them. But we did talk about the Steelers. We did talk about the Browns. So I do have to say the last team in my division, the Baltimore Ravens.
All right, guys, so that's it for the show.
Everybody said they hit it out of the park.
I don't think so.
Okay, Bateman is a very good wide receiver.
Yes.
Very good wide receiver. I question his motor. Okay, and
that's why he fell.
Owe is a very good outside linebacker. And, he's going to try to take the place of Judon. You didn't get better on the defensive line. You're not going to put pressure on the quarterback. You didn't get better at offensive line, which is questionable.
Because you got rid of Orlando Brown, and you didn't replace him with anybody that I think...
Staley's still hurt. He might start the same.
They brought in Villanueva, but that's not the same player as Orlando Brown.
No, and so I look at it as, yes, on paper, the wide receiver's good. But my thing is this. Are your wide receivers not good because they're your wide receivers, or are your wide receivers not good because you don't have somebody that can throw them the ball accurately? So again, it's the Lamar Jackson thing, and I don't like Owe filling Judon's role.
No.
Judon wasn't the sack master that they needed to be, and I don't think this kid's going to be either. They drafted 2 cornerbacks, which they're deep at cornerback on this team, and I just didn't get it. They get, like, NFL.com gave them an A, ESPN gave them an A, maybe a B plus, but I don't understand what's going on.
For me, I have nothing against the Ravens. I think for me, when it comes to the AFC North, let me just break this down, because this is what I thought when I saw the Bengals draft, when I saw Ravens draft, all these teams in that division. Here's the problem. Did you do enough to keep you relevant where you were or get better?
Yep.
Only 2 teams in this division drafted and got substantially better. Now, let me say this. I think the Browns got 1 to 2 games better. I think the Steelers, we're going to give them a push. Give the Ravens a push, maybe. Maybe both lost a game or 2. The Bengals gained possibly 6 wins out of this draft, maybe 4 or 5. So did you, Steelers, Ravens, the top of this division for the last decade, I think both of you guys went backwards this draft. And I think that the other division talent in the Browns and the Bengals are coming like a freight train right behind you, and you're not ready for it.
Right.
And people are like, well, the Browns were right there last year, and they're going to be this year. And people are like, oh, the Bengals are always bad. Dude, this is not the same Bengals as Andy Dalton. This team's stacked.
Yeah.
And if the Ravens can't figure it out, yes, they got a playoff win last year. I get it. You have to figure this out. And the Steelers, you got to do it too, because this is about to be just like the AFC West was last year. This is about to be the same division. 4 teams right on the edge of fighting for the playoffs.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's just me. I don't think the Ravens lost. They said A. I would say B+, B-. Give them a push.
Okay.
I'd say they had a draft kind of like Dallas, where just got to see what happens. I don't think they're bad players. I think Lamar Jackson makes your wide receivers look worse at times.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just think he's just not the most accurate at times, and he panics under pressure. And that's something by year 5 he should have figured out by now.
And I do think it's an offense that you can figure out.
Absolutely,
and the defenses that Cleveland drafted, the Bengals drafted, I think are geared towards stopping that offense.
Absolutely.
And I think everybody is going to be clumped together. I think the Browns are right now the best team in the division.
Absolutely. I think so too.
But again, it's a wait and see.
Yeah.
You know, it's can the Browns do it again? And that's the question. So
we don't know.
But we've got NHL Hockey Playoffs start, and we got NBA playoffs start, and we got more NFL talk. We've got everything coming. So this is a fun off season. This is a fun time. Give us a shout out on Facebook and let us know what you want us to talk about, or anything you disagree with on our chats.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, see you guys. Have a great day.